Hey, it's Nicole. Welcome back to the Serial Entrepreneur Show. So excited to have you and our guest today, Masha of Masha Ray Portraits out of Florida. Here's the beauty of Masha. There's so many things for sure, but she came as a SmartCookie client, a referral from another SmartCookie. These SmartCookies, they tend to stick together, especially in the portrait photography space. And they really are some of my favorite people. Yeah, Matt too, but these folks are really some of my favorite people. And Masha, I can't wait. I've always wanted to interview her because she was born in Kiev, Ukraine, and her story, I guarantee you, is like nothing we've heard on the show just yet. I am a first-generation American born here in the States. My family comes from all over the world, and I just have a special heart for those that figure this out, even in today's world. And so I'm so excited to welcome my friend, Masha.
Hey, if you're an entrepreneur who usually fast forwards intros just like this one, this is the podcast for you.
Masha, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited.
Hey, just a reminder, our show is brought to you by SmartCookie Media, where we believe data tells a story, and not just any story, your business story. As a subscriber to the show or as a client, you'll get insights on profitable, data-driven marketing strategies that work for you and your business, your industry, not some cookie cutter trends. No, ideas that are led by your customer data so you know they'll work for you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram to learn more. Everything's in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the show. Masha, finish this sentence. You know you're an entrepreneur when?
You're an entrepreneur when you persevere regardless. When things don't work, but you just keep going.
Persevere regardless.
Regardless, yes.
Yeah, no matter what. It sounds like there's a story there. Is there a recent time that you just had to keep going no matter what?
I think there is always something that you keep going forward. You know, when you have the vision, you want to achieve certain things, and there is always bumps on the road. And sometimes those bumps feel that, it's hard to continue, but you still continue. And when you continue, the results are really great.
Yeah.
Was there a specific bump in the road, Masha, that you recall where it impacted your business?
You know, I have a few. My main one, I think, when I was just starting out, because when I moved out to United States, it was pretty new country to me, and starting a business in the environment that I completely unfamiliar with. And that was my first business ever. It was hard because first I did not know the culture, you know, not the tradition, but the things that you're supposed to acknowledge or overcome. And I think the main bump was overcoming the acceptance, because I was in California starting my business. And when I did wedding photography, it was so overflowed with wedding photographers. And it was a huge market, and I was coming in inexperienced. So trying your best to get in and to be accepted behind that curtain that the vendors already know each other, that was the hardest part.
Was it more difficult based upon you being essentially an immigrant and coming into our country and trying to fit into that culture as well? Was there a challenge there with that?
No, I don't think so. I really think everyone accepts, you know, immigrant or not native as is. I think the hardest part for me was to prove that I'm good enough to be in that market, that vendors could trust me, that my service was worth enough. And when you are new, it takes time for people to first get to know you, to build that trust, and to start referring. So I think understanding that and going through that, going over that was kind of the difficult part in the beginning.
Yeah. And I think about like the brides in general. The wedding industry is, I would feel, high stakes, high stress. You know, it's one day, it's one moment, it's one time she's going to walk down that aisle. Maybe she'll be back again another time, but like for that day, it's only that one time, right? Like everything has to be as perfect as possible. So I'm sure that that's really, really
true.
Yeah.
So help me understand then, Masha, where you're at today now. What is it you own? What is it you do?
So after running my successful wedding photography business in California, we moved to Florida 5 years ago. And there was a certain point in my life where wedding photography was not bringing me that, I would say, that joy that I felt fulfilled. So I switched my genre to portraits. I started focusing mainly on photographing women and branding and headshots for entrepreneurs. When I started photography for women, It was a little bit of glamour, but then we started doing this project that is called the 40 over 40, where we photographed the women who are over 40. And it had the meaning of helping them overcome aging and showing them that beauty that a lot of them already forgotten from within. So when we would do the photo shoots and seeing these women come in for the first time as very shy, insecure, and then leaving like I can conquer the world. That was the whole joy for me. And then that led to also doing a lot of branding photography because a lot of women that I photographed are entrepreneurs. So it kind of combined together.
I love it. Yeah. I love having someone on the show that is an entrepreneur that's supporting other entrepreneurs. I think it's really special.
I imagine it's
Yes.
a little bit different as well, going back to Nicole's statement about the difference between trying to capture that one moment, that one portrait, that one picture in time for that hopefully one marriage, for that one bride, is a different clientele, different feeling, different client experience, different client expectations, probably, versus the joy you said you had when you see these women kind of light up and come out of their shell and they want to do more. Now they do a branding experience with you.
Mhm.
So I imagine that's an interesting balance between your former clients probably versus your newer clients, right?
Yes, it is. And the brides and all the wedding experience is incredible. I love it. I would never take it back and say, oh, I wish I never done it. But it was something that I did not feel of bringing something to the world other than delivering the memories and good service. Someone who is married will have these photos forever. They will remember me. I will do their maternity, probably photos along the line. But I did not feel I was impacting someone's life to a point where I feel I'm doing it right now.
Mm.
Yeah. I love that. So tell me, what's your story? What led you to entrepreneurship specifically? Not even just photography, but what's the story that happened that made you know that you could run your own thing, do this on your own?
I started falling in love with photography just out of, I don't know, I think it out of nowhere. Probably could combine it because my family was a little on the artistic side. So maybe that has to do a little bit with it. But there was a certain point in my life where I started, noticing compositions, noticing things. So I looked into photography. And back in time, I was dating my husband. So we would go together. It was our joy to, photograph together. And I lived in Poland back in time when we met. And I had this little Rebel camera that I was going, photograph little things. So he came back from United States because he's American and he bought himself this super expensive camera that I could not even dream of. And we would go together and photograph me with that Rebel camera and him with this super professional high-end camera equipment. We would photograph on auto settings things that, whatever we found interesting. And then one time he gave me a camera as a gift, not this one, but expensive camera. And that's when I decided that I cannot do it as amateur having this expensive camera. So I decided to, dig deeper and learn all the settings. So this is how my whole thing started with this. But the reason why I'm explaining this is because it kind of has the continuation. When I did move to United States, I wanted to continue photography because I really love this, but I've never done any business in my life. And my husband is an entrepreneur. So he was the first one who believed in me, really. He said, you can do this. Your work is beautiful. And I don't know if it was beautiful to him. It was. And I think because he believed in me so much, I think it kind of gave me the push of trying. So I think really the person behind me being an entrepreneur is really my husband who showed me the road that I could.
Love it.
What kind of work does your husband do?
My husband used to have a lot of businesses. Now he has a rental business. He has properties and he rents the properties.
Okay, so real estate.
But
Okay.
a lot of times it was sales. I think everything I know is because of him, really. He is the one who took that little fresh mind, and turned it completely into different world. So me 10 years ago and me now is two different people.
Oh my
What about
goodness.
back in Ukraine? Was there anything
Mhm.
or anyone around you that really you look back to and say, you know what? I was learning some of these skills. I was
Mhm.
seeing this as a kid.
I think subconsciously, without realizing, and I only realized it along the line later, I was born in a family of artists. My mom was a touring ballerina, and my dad is an artist who paints churches and monasteries in Ukraine.
Wow.
Yeah. And, he never once showed me how to draw, never once taught me the painting, anything hands on. But I was always surrounded by the art. I was always surrounded by the big names of artists that, he admired, or he would show me, like, you see, this is the composition, these are the colors, this certain artist portray or create the light this way. This is their signature style. So I think I soaked it in along the line, and watching my mom, because I grew up behind the curtains in the ballet theater, watching them dance and always watching them, all these rules that you have to sit straight, the posture, the hand placement. I find that when I take pictures now, it helps me a lot. This is my identity, I think. I cannot take a picture if I see the hand like this. It has to be like this. So it has certain things, but yes, definitely my parents in a more artistic way empowered me to do this.
So dad taught you nothing. Dad didn't show you how to draw. Dad didn't show you how to paint. Did mom at least show you one move?
Yes, I used to
Okay,
dance.
good.
I
Okay.
used to dance a little bit, but I think when you have parents that see that their kid is not really into, ballet or art, they just don't want to push you as much. At least mine didn't. So they were feeding me on the outside, not pushing me in, but more like on the outside. So I think it came later. I kind of blossomed out of every knowledge that I got from them, years later.
I believe that entrepreneurs are risk takers, and they're certainly early adopters of anything. First adopters if there's like new technology and something new and shiny sometimes. And it tells me a lot if you're ready to take a risk on dating an American. I'm just saying. There's
Yes.
there's some risk.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea.
I can
Dating
imagine
and
that.
then adjusting to the culture and all the little things. It's a lot. And one more thing I want to say, yes, parents in some form impacted me. My husband helped me. But of course, a lot of it comes from my character inside. If I wasn't too strong as a personality, I think I would probably quit, because it's not an easy road. Sometimes you have clients, sometimes you don't. Sometimes things just like fall apart and you feel like, I'm done with it. I'm gonna go get a job, but then you don't, because you still believe. And I think entrepreneurism is when you believe in someone, when everyone is telling you it's not going to work. What are you going for? What are you doing? You're crazy. And you still have the vision, you follow it. And so how it works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
I love it. So I think you've just given us a whole lot of things that people would be surprised to hear about your story. But is there something else you think that people would be surprised to learn about your early days as an entrepreneur?
I think maybe majority of people would not believe that you can build a business based outside of the garage. That's what I started, really. So in my house, when we lived in California and I was still, doing weddings, I already slowly started refocusing on the glamour and women and branding. I did not have the office. I did not have the studio. So I had a garage. So I turned this garage into a little bit of semi-studio. It was horrible. I still have behind the scenes photos where there is a washing machine. There is a lot of trash, really, things that you don't need that you put in the garage. And then there is this little area where everything came up.
I'm envisioning backdrop, lights, lawnmower, weed whacker.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who else has those photos though, Masha? You know who else has those? It's Amazon has those garage photos, and so does Apple. They both have. So you are in good company. You are really, really good company. That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
I was using also natural light because in California, the light is incredible. So I didn't need to have any lighting. It was just like shining in.
Yeah. I love it. Speaking of lights, would you tell me about a time that you've recently been distracted in your business? This show is a serial entrepreneur show, which we've talked to people who either have several businesses or many products that they're managing. So can you tell me about the last time you were distracted, maybe by a shiny new object or some squirrel or something Whether it was your brightest idea or not, what was it and how did you manage it?
Oh, this is my favorite story. The biggest push for me to realize my real why in photography was this woman. She contacted me when I still was in California. I was doing weddings and I already knew that, something was off. I did not want to continue. And one time she called me and she says, Masha, I really love your work, but I have not been photographed for probably 25 years. She had a story where she was diagnosed with leukemia stage 4, and the doctors gave her months to live. So when she realized that this is it, she didn't believe she will survive, but she actually did. But after this, it was very hard for her to cope. So what she did is she took all the photos of her family where she was in, and she torn them, basically removing herself from every photo that she was before, because I guess the transformation after leukemia, she was looking nothing like she was before. So she was struggling inside and she did not want this past to remind her of how she used to look. And then she says that she was so impacted by my photography that she would like me to take her pictures. And I was stuck in the beginning because photographing women really on the glamour side was not my expertise. I was really main photographer for the weddings, for the brides. And yes, I did know how to pose, but there was something new that it was completely not my, field of play. But I said, yes, come in. So she came in and she was so shy. She was so insecure. And she told me, if you take one picture that I like, it will mean, everything to me. And you know what? She loved them all. She cried when she saw the photos because after the photo shoot, we invited her for the reveal. And reveal was when I printed the photos. I framed them in mats. So they were matted, nicely printed. And she saw them, displayed. She cried. She said this was something that she would never expect. She bought the biggest package that I created. So that to me was the moment that I knew I changed someone's life and that I impacted someone's life to a point where she could see herself beautiful again. She could see that through my eyes, she was able to see her transformation and how she overcame things. So that's the moment when I knew that women is my thing.
So explain to me then, how did that
Mhm.
impact your bridal business and the people you've been used to working with? And how did you
Mhm.
manage that then?
I quit the wedding
She moved.
photography. Yes,
She moved. She just
Okay.
moved.
photographing this woman came at the moment where I already knew that I
Mhm.
did not want to continue with weddings. So that was a nice transition. And I like to think that it was universe helping me, go
Yeah.
into my next step in life.
Yeah, I could see you could never turn back and go back to the other stuff again. That makes sense.
And then that eventually evolved into what we now do is headshots for entrepreneurs and branding and business, correct?
Correct. I call it glamour. I think it's more empowering portraits. But because a lot of women are entrepreneurs that come to do the photo shoots, while we do the photo shoots about really who they are to bring that personality from within, along the line, they start asking, oh, do you do this? I have a business and I need photos. So that's how it slowly started. And now, they see on my website that I also do branding and headshots as well.
Masha, you know me, you know that I get to support entrepreneurs all the time. They really are my favorite people because they always take some sort of action and often imperfect action. But if you could talk to our listeners today, what would you want them to know about what a branding shoot would be for their business and what it would mean for them? It's not just about a stuffy headshot for your LinkedIn photo anymore.
The world we live in right now, it's evolving. One headshot is not enough. If you have the business, you would like to be more visible. And branding photography is for someone who wants to have good content and to connect with their potential audience. So when we do the branding photography, we always meet for the consultation where we brainstorm. And a lot of times, entrepreneurs don't really know about the colors, the consistency, how they should shape their brand to stand out and to be the one that attracts attention and connects with the audience. So at the consultation, we go over all these details. We brainstorm on who they are, where they want to be in 10 years. So this helps me create the vision And so we're structuring the photo shoot based on delivering photos that can give them interesting content for the potential clients to come and connect with them. But main thing in branding is to show their personality. Because I believe right now, it's not really the pretty picture that attracts attention. It's more the photo that shows who you are. It's either the bubbly personality, it's the professionalism, it's the laughter, it's whatever your brand tends to show. But it's very important to show you as the main entrepreneur behind and what you do so that your people can connect.
I love it.
Okay, so talk to me for a second here, Masha. Help me understand.
Yes.
This is lawyer Matt, who has no
Yes.
marketing, branding background,
Oh.
nothing like this.
I
So
mean, you are
Okay.
fed a small marketing degree every time you're with me.
I know I am, but the truth of the matter is we get to use me as like the regular everyday business person who's listening to the show, doesn't know some of this stuff. So you say a branding consultation. Is it as simple as like, okay, my brand is blue because one of my colors is blue in my logo, and so I just bring a bunch of different color blue shirts? I mean, help me understand what's really happening when you sit down with an entrepreneur.
Okay, so at the consultations, we always look at your website, at your social media, and see where you are. A lot of what I'm seeing is entrepreneurs are a little left behind if their social media or website is not updated. A lot of times, their Instagram or TikTok or whatever they're running has a little bit old-fashioned feel. So, unfortunately, with the huge competition and with everything modern in the world, it can lead them, to lose clientele. So at the consultation, it's not only we're choosing the colors that, okay, this is your color you should go with, but it's also matching with your brand. It's also going over the story, who you are behind, why your clients should come to you, and what is so interesting about you that your customers would like. And this is what we're trying to bring in the branding session. We discuss the locations, the amount of outfits, the setups. So some of the photos would be you doing something as an action shot, typing something on the computer, talking over the phone, or sitting and drinking coffee or
Matt
tea,
is
whatever.
always on the phone. Matt is always
Yes,
on the phone.
yes.
I mean,
But you know
actually,
what?
my favorite would be if he could hit the shady button, like the end button when he's declining someone else's call. That would be my favorite.
Oh, wow,
But
folks, so there you go, everybody. There it is. There,
Oh,
she got
it's
it in.
just
She
because
got it into it. She got it into it. There it is.
it's just because I am a non
No,
most of the time. Like I
I'm
have to like send back. I'll be like, I'll send over money for this call, please. No, I just tease because we're busy.
No,
I
Masha,
get it.
that helped me understand a little bit because I could just tell you right now, for instance, like in an industry that I'm involved with, like you have an image out there where some people want to just be known as people always in t-shirts and like jeans and they don't care what they look like, but their brand does resonate with some people. Like they're like, oh, that's just who they are. Then you have like maybe an older, more traditional company that they expect everyone, men are in shirts and ties and jackets
Mhm,
and women
mhm,
are always in skirts and dresses. And then, there's companies that are more modern approach where like jeans and a sport coat, but it's not
mhm.
really, it's still dress casual, I guess. And that's what I'm envisioning is that you're trying to say, hey, let's pull out the personality, whether it's you as the founder or your company, and making sure that those pictures match the image we're trying to portray, right?
Exactly. Yes. So that's why consultation is so important because at the consultation, I will know, what are we allowed to do? Are we allowed to put the serious lawyer who never takes his jacket off into a t-shirt and jeans, or are
Right.
we not? And sometimes breaking the pattern is something that people don't expect. That's what causes that attention and reaction. So
Right.
you might be always serious and your photos should always, having a certain vision to it, but there will be certain photos that we will take that show you from a perspective that no one's have seen before. This might cause someone says, "Oh, I trust this guy."
Yeah.
So tell me,
yeah.
what's the rule then? Your signature on your email versus like your business card versus maybe a brochure. Is it different images depending on what emotion or what you want to convey? Is that what's
Mhm.
happening there? Or what?
Okay, so branding session is really a content creation. It's the photo shoot that does include headshots. We do start with traditional headshots where you have a good amount of close-up photos, the photos that you can submit for speaking engagements, for websites, for business cards. But then if you have social media where you like to show yourself and your business, where it's a little bit more relaxed or more professional, we create all kinds of setups, I would say, personality shows that are matchable with what you do. Another thing is if I know that this person will be using the photos for magazines, for example, other things, this is also going to be a branding session. So branding session is really a combination of everything that shows you what you do, the story behind, and how do you want to attract your client.
I guess my question for you is this, and this would be really interesting for, I think, some of us in the corporate space, some of us that have been there before. Is there a steadfast rule for branding to get people to remember, who you are or what you look like, that photo of the headshot, whether it's in your email signature, on your business card, is it have to be the same shot everywhere so that way people recognize that same look, the same face, the same outfit, the same. Is this making sense what I'm saying? Like that's,
Yes,
I just
it
got into
is,
this.
understand.
Okay.
The consistency. It depends. I think
Okay.
it does. It is important. And Nicole, what's this?
No, she's laughing because that's the lawyer answer.
That's
when
what
I
the
always
lawyers
say,
always says.
That's what
It's
I always
always,
say.
it depends. And so I had to do my little fist bump.
Go
That's
ahead,
so
Masha.
good.
For example, with Nicole. Nicole, you have a beautiful brand, and Nicole's brand is recognizable because she does not have a headshot that has this traditional 40-degree angle. She has something that she holds, that she tosses some
Balls in the air.
balls
Yeah,
in the air.
juggling.
Yes, juggling. And this is interesting because this is how I remember every time I think of Nicole, this image comes up. And this is basically her brand. So this is what we discuss at the consultation. And when we go build the little story of what we're going to do, this is what we're thinking of. How do you want to be seen? And I'll tell you the story. I had this recently headshot session for this entrepreneur. She works in the company full of architects. She's not an architect, but she says, Masha, everyone is using some kind of different type of headshot that I cannot have a simple headshot, but it has to be a headshot. And with headshot, we're talking, little square
shoulders
up
and
to here.
Yeah.
What can you show? So I came up with this idea. I had this background. It's a cardboard. It has a black side and a white side. So we combined it together. And the way she was dressed, she had black and white outfit, really. She had a lighter jacket and a darker blouse. So it had a nice little reverse. So when you look at this photo, it is a headshot, but it is a little bit architectural headshot because it has those lines. It had different colors, black and white, and it matches her outfit. So things like this, sometimes you have to think outside the box if the client is not requesting a traditional headshot, but something more unique.
I would say that here's the thing that the magic happens inside the consultation. Maybe we need to give you a little mini consultation, but I think what happens is you may come and present like, I'm a lawyer. We got to look a little stuffy in some of my shots. Yeah, maybe we can get rid of the jacket because I don't wear it all the time. But it's in talking with her that she's going to realize this guy's funny,
Yes.
or he's witty, he's quick, or wait, he also has a podcast. Okay, you're going to bring the mic, or you're going to have that element there. How can we have fun with that? And then there might be this okay, when you're being your lawyer self, she may think you're in the courtroom and you're going to share with her, I don't go to the courtroom at all. Nobody wants me there. And all of a sudden, light bulbs start to go off on maybe even a light bulb, right? How that you are a strategist and you are maybe not always writing things down, but maybe there's a whiteboard. There's different ways that you are being in the world that are only going to come up either when she Zooms with you at your office and you get interrupted 8 times, or, I've worked with a photographer that Zoomed in my closet. I was like, I want to wear bright. And so before you know it, she has me pulling out things and I'm like, I'm going to wear white jeans. Really? Okay. All right. I'm going to trust you. And I think that's the difference between who shows up versus the professional.
It's an interview, really. It's an interview about you. I like to know all the little aspects that you can tell me about your brand and who you are. Sometimes I have clients who come in and tell me, oh, I only wear black or I only wear white. And I have a studio wardrobe collection. So when they come in, women, for example, they think they're going to wear this. And then I show them completely different. That takes them out of their comfort zone. And they look and they say, oh my gosh, I do look good in this. And, it brings something else from the inside that shine.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in with one other one. I would encourage somebody that's questioning that. If they think that the answer is it's the same for consistency, I'm going to fall asleep thinking about it. Okay. Just for a second, as a marketer who's somebody who's constantly fighting for the attention. I did not want to be the marketer that's sitting on her laptop like marketers sit for their branding shoots on the floor with their laptop. I call BS. No, that's the fastest way to break your neck and back. Like, we're not doing that because we are working so much on the computer. So I wanted to have some fun and stand out in a way that I would say whatever your industry is doing. So this is for anybody who's wondering, what do you put all of there? The marketer would tell you, whatever your industry is doing, try to find a few things. I'm going to try to remember all the ones I usually say, but number one, try to find the opposite. I'm not saying actually flip your picture upside down. Your photographer might cry. It might be like, what? But consider what is the opposite. So if it's all like dark suits, what would you be comfortable with that is opposite still, right? I chose on the bottom of my email address after I read Mike Michalowicz's book. I don't know. There was something in it that I just thought about, like, how do you stand out? And I gave my phone to my accountant, my very Excel worthy, numbers driven husband. And I was like, I got to try something. And he's like, okay. And I was like, all sorts of like emotions are going to come across my face and my hands are going to go up and talk and all the things. I want you to snap them. I want you to pay attention to lighting. So we, prop up the lighting. And so now when you email me, if somebody wants to email me, I'll make sure to include it in the show notes. If I email you in reply, you get my hands and a heart.
Yes.
But if I'm going to email you the first time, I want you to pay attention to my email address, because those that pay attention to the signature line, that have your website, that say, hey, check out my next podcast, that get some type of experience with me, I give them either a link to the lead magnet I'm pushing out lately, or get one of my website audits for free, something like that, right? It's like a standout. Like, I'm like yelling, right? Like, I'm like trying to be the business cheerleader. And to me, that was opposite for marketers. Like, too many times marketers, it was just kind of, everyone's doing the same thing. So I always say, if you could do something opposite, if you can do something with a punch of color that maybe is the opposite of your color wheel. So if you're using blue, can you go to, an orange, a salmon, something opposite of the color wheel, or something complementary, just because again, it'll stand out next to your blue logo, your blue, font, if you're using it. And then, I like to speak. And so then if the third thing is if you have a totem, is what I like to call it. So I like to speak with a pink jacket, something bright. And if I'm out speaking somewhere, I want to wear that. The top underneath might change, but I find that if I can just be consistent in wearing the pink, it'll pop up a few different places. But then I always, to Masha's point, I always want to do what I can to show storytelling, because if I can prove to everybody that I can disrupt your attention for a second, I have a shot at proving you I can do that in your own marketing for you, whether or not I have a great photo. I'm just always thinking about how to disrupt. So I would say to anybody thinking like, oh, I got to have the same everywhere, I would say, how can you have it consistent, maybe a consistent, yes, but also how could you really just make it a little bit different, stand out than all the sleepiness that's happening?
That's the consistency. Your photos are not identical to different things that you are sending, but they do have the consistency. It does show your personality. So I think using the same headshot everywhere is a no. Of course, there are exceptions, but consistency and personality that shows. That's what I think the key.
Well, other than the fact I did not go out and buy a pink jacket, it sounds like I did the right thing, because I chose different pictures depending on where
Pat
I'm at.
yourself
And it
on
was
the back.
I
Yeah,
did it the
good.
right
Way
way.
to go.
Look at me. I
Good
did it
job.
right. But I think that was helpful, because I think there's a lot of people out there when they're setting up their brain or setting up their business, they think, all I have is that one shot, one headshot that the chamber took or whatever, and I'm going to use that over and over and over again. And yet you look at that shot and you're like, that's not even you. I know who you are. You don't even wear that brown suit ever. I've never even seen you in a brown suit. And yet you wore a brown suit on the day that the chamber took your headshot.
Right.
So Masha, tell me this: tips, tools, tricks, people you're working with. What's really helped you in your business today? What's really making the gears turn, making the cash register ring today?
One of the biggest for me was, out of all of little eggs that you have to put in different baskets, networking, marketing, social media, was meeting Nicole. I don't know if I can talk about it.
Sure.
I mean, this is true. I had a little period in my life where I had to take a little break. I went, on vacation, and then holidays happened, Christmas and stuff. So it was a pretty slow period in my business. And then January came and it was cricket. And your bills need to be paid. You need to have, income still. So Nicole created the Facebook ads for me. And I have had so many negative feedback prior from other photographers telling me, oh, they tried that one time from someone else, but it didn't work. And then, everything was a no. There was basically risking everything. But there was something about Nicole that she was so confident and she knew what she was doing. So when we started working together, it just took my business to the next level. I think first month we made $10,000 just off of those ads. So I really trust your expertise. You said in the beginning what's going to happen. Everything happened literally step by step, and then it escalated. So thank you so much. So I think investing in your business where you do the social media, paid ads, when you do the Google ads is very important.
Thank you for sharing that. Had I known the pressure, had I known.
Yes. Those are the bumps that Matt was asking in the beginning. What are the bumps? The bumps never stop. It's just the solution that entrepreneurs find how to fix them.
Yeah, thanks for sharing a good story about Facebook ads. You're right. They do get a bad rep sometimes. Hey there, busy movers and shakers. I get it. You're out there conquering the business world, hustling day in, day out. Well, guess what? We've got something to amplify your efforts, something that's about to make your entrepreneurial journey even more exciting. Introducing our podcast production services, your ticket to sharing your knowledge and stories without breaking a sweat. We know your time is gold. That's why our team of podcast pros will take the reins, handle all of the behind the scenes stuff. From brainstorming fun topics, introducing you to incredible guests, polishing up those episodes, repurposing your content so you can share among lots of platforms. We're here to turn your ideas into a podcast that's as easygoing as your favorite chat over coffee. Imagine establishing your expertise and your authority, making connections all across the globe in just minutes a month. And the fun doesn't end there. Our data-savvy approach gives you insights that will help you fine-tune your content and connect with your audience even better than before. So join forces with a crew that's as enthusiastic about your podcast as you are about your business, the SmartCookie Media crew. Let your voice resonate, your stories inspire, and your ideas spread like wildfire. Level up your personal brand through the magic of podcasting, whether you choose audio only or video too. Are you ready to dive into podcasting? Your journey to share your knowledge starts right here because it's your voice, your podcast with our expertise. SmartCookie Media, turning your stories into conversations. What is one of the key lessons you learned as an entrepreneur? Maybe it's something you find yourself saying again and again, like a mantra.
I think work hard, as cliched as it might sound. This is really the key, not to give up or persevere regardless. This is my mantra. And even sometimes when things, don't seem to have a logical way out, something always happens that it works through. So I think trust and believe in yourself and keep working.
Nice. So Masha, tell me, how would you define your entrepreneurial success?
My entrepreneurial success, I think, based very much on, I want them to feel at ease that they came to a problem solver, someone that they can give their issue to and not worry that the results for what they're spending money on might not be satisfying. So when I hear the feedback from my customers, when I see the results, when they use the photos and everyone compliments them or it helps them somehow get noticed among a lot of other businesses, the referrals and the happy client at the end overcame some challenges with my help. This really keeps me going, helping them succeed in their own business.
Masha, tell us what's next for you. Is there something you're promoting or something you're up to that you want our listeners to know about?
Well, I am doing the 40 over 40 project round 2. So we are celebrating women who are over 40, 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 and up. If they want to participate, I would love to get in touch. And really the promotion is always, same thing, headshot branding and photo shoots for glamour. One thing I would like to emphasize that a lot of times women feel not ready to take pictures or they don't want to take pictures. But then I think it's not really about whether they should take pictures. It's about creating the legacy for the future generation. The quality becomes better with time. So the more time goes by, the more these pictures become very valuable. And we're talking more about, portraits, not as much branding, more on the personal level.
I don't know. My juggling photo, it actually makes me money. Yeah. Put $1 behind that, and then all of a sudden people are laughing. So all of them,
it's a different, it's a different picture, and it's the picture that always keeps you in mind.
Oh, good.
It
Well,
tell us scroll.
Yes, indeed. Tell us, where does someone get in touch with you? Where's your favorite place to hang out online?
Instagram. Instagram is my go-to place. I'm always with my phone. So any sort of text, call, or social media.
Shocking
Great.
that the
Well-
photographer is saying Instagram's the easiest.
Yes.
Shoot me an awesome photo on Instagram.
Yes. Get my attention with a bad photo, and then she'll be like, I can
Oh,
fix it. Yeah, I can do
fix
that.
it.
Yeah,
She's a problem solver. She said that. Yeah.
Yes, she is. Well, we will link all of those in the show notes. And I just want to say thank you again for being with us today and sharing your story. Pretty inspiring.
Thanks,
Thank you
Masha.
so much.
Hey, it's Nicole, and that's the end of the interview. But stick around. This is the part where Matt and I break it all down and give you our favorite takeaways. Listen in.
So we just
Yep.
wrapped up with Masha.
We did.
Ran over here, got
Yes.
set up. My first takeaway for her is start where you're at. Reminds all of us that are established and have been doing this for a little while, start anywhere. But she just took it up a notch. She started her garage, and that reminds me of a few tech giants.
Oh, yes. Harley Davidson, maybe even. You know what I mean?
I mean, that one's a really obvious.
I mean, yeah, really obvious. But I think you're right. It's the idea of the resourcefulness that when you're first starting out, being a grinder, putting it together,
Yes.
figure a way out. And she did.
I know. So many cool moments with Masha for sure. The second one, I think you're up for a second.
Yeah. So the second one actually came for me at the very end of the show. She actually mentioned the word problem solver. Now, she didn't say that the entire show,
Mhm.
but at the very end, she said she looks at herself as a problem solver. And so for me, the takeaway is just that, wow, a great branding photographer, a great person who understands your brand is a problem solver.
Yeah. Which I think leads to the biggest takeaway of all.
Yeah.
So since we started this series, I wanted to show off a bit about what portrait photographers do across the country, because they do the things they do and help my clients in so many different ways.
Mhm.
But I think if it's fair to say, you're realizing how much a photo or a
Right.
body of work
Sure.
can really tell the story of a service provider. You're a lawyer, sure, but
Yeah.
you're a special kind of lawyer.
Exactly,
Your
exactly.
images should really be different than someone else's, or maybe a realtor out there, or some coach or consultant,
Right.
or even photographers themselves. If you know who I'm talking about right now, many of you don't do your own branding work either. I watched that light bulb come over your head.
Well, yeah. And that was the issue that I was like, well, wait, I just had this argument with somebody. I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there who have a company and you're figuring out what shots do I use. It helped hearing me be the guinea pig and walk through that process going, how many pictures can convey different messages to your potential audience, right?
Yeah. Imagine that, folks. Matt had an argument with someone. I
What?
can't imagine it.
What?
You said I just had this exact argument. Well, that's what we have for this special series with another portrait photographer, Masha. If you're in the Tampa area or plan to be heading her way, get in touch. Find a way that you can work together. Well, folks, we appreciate if you're listening. We love the reviews. We've gotten a whole bunch more of them recently. But as we always say, if you're listening,
Keep listening.
you've been listening to the Serial Entrepreneur Show, produced by the team here at SmartCookie Media.